Hello everybody, my name is Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is all about how to work out your financial freedom number. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So financial freedom, what actually is that? So financial freedom is when you've either saved or invested enough to not have to work for money any longer. Your savings and investments provide you with an income to sustain you without having you have to work in a workplace. It normally comes with the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, also known as FIRE. But in order to be able to be financially free, you need to work out just how much money you would need to have saved and invested to be able to achieve that. The basic calculation for working this out is 25 times your annual expenses, hence why the numbers might be quite large. So 25 times your annual expenses leaves the 4% rule intact. So you can take 4% of your investments and it will achieve the number you want to. However, there are variables to this. So financial freedom means lots of things to different people, but you also might have very different goals to somebody else looking to achieve financial freedom or financial independence. It means the same thing. Financial freedom means that you have enough money saved to live off, and therefore your annual expenses have to come into play to be able to manage that. And of course we all have different annual expenses that we need to have. We need to be able to use to survive. One of our plans specifically is to make sure that our annual expenses are as low as we can get them. So therefore our financial freedom number does not need to be as big as somebody else's. So if we use the 25 times annual expenses rule to work out how much you would need. If you want to live on £24,000 a year, you then times 24,000 by 25 and your financial freedom number in that case would be £600,000. Can you see how the numbers are quite large? £24,000 is £2,000 a month to live off, and to make sure that you can sustain that long term, that 4% rule comes in. So you would need to have saved and or invested £600,000 to be able to achieve that. If you wanted to live off more a year, so say you wanted to live off £40,000 a year, you would need to have £1 million saved and or invested. So you can see that the financial freedom number is fairly large. If you look at some American bloggers who've managed to achieve that, their financial freedom independence number is in the millions to be able to afford the lifestyle that they like or that they want to live continuously from this point onwards. There is something that comes into play here. So there is lean financial freedom versus fat financial freedom, and the only difference between these two numbers is how much you want to live on per year once you've achieved your financial freedom. So the £24,000 a year, £600,000 invested. Could you live on less than £24,000 a year? That equals £2,000 a month. If you could reduce that to £1,500 a month, your end number is lower because your expenses, monthly expenses, are lower. Therefore, you don't need to create as much or save as much to have that income and that lifestyle you require. The other side of that is perhaps you don't feel that £40,000 is enough to live on per year. You might want to aim for £60,000 a year or £80,000 a year. But when you start getting into numbers like that, the number that you need to have invested, remember it's the 25 times the annual expenses. So if you're thinking of you want to have £80,000 a year as your annual expenses, you know, the number that you're talking about having to save and invest in is really big. And do you really need to live on that much money? Of course, this all depends on where you live. The South London is much more expensive to live and kind of enjoy a certain type of lifestyle than it is, say, up here in the northeast, which is where we live. You need to look at your own expenses, but one of the easiest ways to help you to achieve this is to set up a budget so you know where your money goes. So I'll leave a link below to the zero-based budget method. That's the budget method we use, and it kind of accounts for every single penny so that you know that it's doing the right job for you. You need to set up a system that works for you, and that includes putting money into savings and investments. I'll leave a link below to the I Will Teach You to Be Rich book by Ramit Sethi. I think that's a really good starting point in terms of looking at your overall financial life and how you can improve that. But the main thing that will help in terms of you reaching that financial freedom number is to reduce the amount of money you need to live on. So part of our financial freedom goal is to have our mortgage paid off, and I'll leave a link below as to why overpaying your mortgage is perhaps a good idea. But also we're creating a passive income stream. Now, I've talked a lot about dividend investing on my channel. I'll leave a link below to the £1,000 a month dividend income stream that we are hoping to achieve. That dividend income stream, if we manage to do that, will pay for pretty much all of our expenses if we were going to do the real lean expense where there's no room for additional luxuries, if you like. Our financial freedom retire early calculations are slightly different. Instead of calculating the 4% rule for the 25 times annual expenses, we're actually doing a slightly different plan. So we are bridging the gap between retiring early and when our pensions kick in. So we're kind of allowing for basically a 17-year stretch of time where we need to have our own income source or our own saved pot of money to be able to bridge that and to use those expenses, and our mortgage will be paid off in the same time frame. But financial freedom really is just a basic calculation. So the 4% comes from the fact that 4% is like an average of the returns that you might get. So if you spent 4% of your investments every year, you probably wouldn't ever spend them, because the amount on return that you get in theory should be higher than that. So the reason why they use the 4% rule is that you'll never run out of money if you use that. So that's how you calculate your financial freedom number. Obviously, the more you want to spend per year, the more you will have to save and invest. So it's looking at ways to maybe reduce just what you think you will need to spend your money on in terms of just general everyday living. So for example, our expenses at the moment look very different to how we expect them to be when we retire early. So have a look at your expenses, see what you think you can probably get rid of, and have a look at what your financial freedom number would be, and then make a plan of how to get there. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as on paper. Obviously reaching that in person with all that money saved and invested is very different. Are you hoping to achieve financial freedom? Are you looking to retire early like we are? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to chat to people about who are attempting the same journey as we are. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.